Hello world, I'm excited to bring you today's topic, which is called wild cards of the planet Earth. So let's begin. So wild cards can be an event, it could be a new invention, a paradigm, or a system that changes everything. And or it could be a human or a few. So I will illustrate more in the next slide. So what is the main attribute of a wild card? And I am gonna talk about Trump, but I will get to it at the end. We're gonna say a story. So a wild card, the basic attribute is that it's always a surprise event and it's unexpected, sometimes startling, and often dramatic. And in its influence, you don't see it coming. It doesn't follow a trend. If it's an invention, it doesn't follow the trend of scientific evolution. It comes out of the blue, and you don't expect that person making it, or the invention. It's kind of like the invention, its time has come, and the wild card helps to bring it. So, and it's usually shocking, and it's always a surprise. That's how you can tell it's a wild card. So let's begin. So the game, I thought I would make it fun, since it's a wild card and play on cards and a joker. So the goal of the game today is to understand the beauty of a spiritual system that pushes humanity when they need to be pushed. So we do have free will, but sometimes spirit will honor our consciousness by giving us so all this information is channeled information from Cryon. He's a spirit, and it's usually channeled by a guy called Lee Carroll. So I wanted to make spin out of it and present you about the wild card. So they asked Cryon, does spirit create wild cards for the planet? The answer, no, you do. Your consciousness at a certain point in time gives an allowance for a wild card. Spirit is ready to enhance some wild card scenarios and not others, but the energy and consciousness of humanity allows for that occurrence. See? So it's always in respect with free will, So let's continue. So let's move on now. I want to show you examples of wild cards in history. So of course, one of the most beloved wild cards is my hero, my personal hero, Nikola Tesla. And he came to bring us, of course, the AC current, alternating current of 3-phase. I majored in power engineering, and let me tell you, power engineering formulas are bananas, because he had to use like root 3 and 3 phasers and using like 3 magnetic fields. And basically the beauty of alternative current is that he uses 3 waves of sine waves to transmit electricity in the long transmission lines. So it makes it more efficient, because before, what makes it a wild card, it was a surprise, because before Edison was working on DC current, direct current, and it was not efficient. The AC current, you could is very versatile. You can use transformers to raise the voltage, transmit the electricity, and then lower the voltage to give it to you guys in the houses. And when you plug in to your devices, you're just picking up one phase, one. So it's very versatile and very brilliant, beyond brilliant. So he was ahead of his time. Indeed, he's an amazing wild card. But we're gonna get into why there's like a pattern about these people that bring us all these inventions. Is that brilliant mind like this, you will think that he could bring us something else, like other stuff, and he indeed had many ideas, Nikola Tesla. But I'll go on the next slide to explain. So, funny facts on the right side. I took a walking tour for Tesla. So in his last days, he lived in the famous New Yorker hotel. So they have in the basement memorabilia about him, and he was working with other ideas. Like he was looking for to transfer wireless power using the earth, and but Spirit had blockages to block him because it would be, we weren't ready, So let me tell you a story about why there's like a kind of like a thinking ceiling. There's like a thinking ceiling about what invention can be allowed. So my father used to teach me wisdom through stories. So I'll tell you a story about, it's called I'm going to try to translate the orphan's cow. So there was like this rich family that had a cow and farms and all this money, and then when the father died, there was two kids. There was an older sister and a little kid, her brother. And the father, before he died, he told his daughter, "Don't tell your brother I left you all this money until he is ready." Okay? So the sister just told her brother that they just left him the cow, so they'll be like just drinking with the milk of the cow. But at 6 years old, she will ask him, or like let's say at 13 years old, she'll ask him, if we had all this money and our dad, let's say, left us all this money, what would you do with all that money? So then the kid, or the son, her brother will be like, I'd buy all these toys and stuff. So she was like, he is not ready, so I'm not gonna tell him, So the money was there, but she wouldn't tell him about it because he wasn't not mature. He's just gonna waste it on toys. And then let's say when he was 16, she'll ask the same thing, and then he'll be like, I'll spend it on my girlfriend, I'll take her to and my friends and have a party. And then she was like, no, he's not ready. So she didn't tell him. But then let's say when he was 24, she asked him again, and he was like, well, I will buy a farm and I will make different crops and I will sell it for higher profit. And she was like, now he's ready. So sometimes Spirit will, you think that inventions are just ready there to be taken, but if an idea is not, it's time to come, then this sorry, there's a little noise out there. Then Then this Nikola Tesla died frustrated. He wanted to do this power transfer, but JP Morgan stopped, wouldn't give him the money, and he died poor and broke in his hotel room 3327. I really recommend, highly recommend doing a walk-in tour in New York. That was very informative. So yeah, he did not get to see, he only brought us, so think about wildcard, they only bring us one thing and then they die. So this is kind of like the pattern. You're gonna see the next one is the Wright brothers, the one that brought us flight in 1903. That was a first successful flight in North Carolina using the Kitty Hawk flyer. And you would think that the Chinese were using, the Chinese were flying kites for thousands of years before that, and they wouldn't figure it out. And these two brothers, Orville and Wilbur, were actually dropouts, and they were like actually bicycle makers. So talk about wild card that is unexpected and shocking, and they actually beat the French only by 2 weeks. And one more thing about inventions, when Spirit decided to allow for that invention, it's sent all over, it's like in the ether hanging out, and whoever gets to it first is the one that takes credit. So it was in the ether, and the Wright brothers got it, and they were indeed wild cards, and but they were only allowed, it was only one-time success, the Kitty Hawk flyer, that 1903, and they were allowed to figure out like some basic flight manipulation, like wing wrapping and Erlang. But they also, there's this pattern that they died frustrated for not being to take it to the next level, and other people after that took it to the next level. And Orville, I think Wilbur died first from from frustration for typhoid fever, and then Wilbur felt that loss. Orville, I think. Orville after that felt the loss and then had heart attack. So you're gonna see this like pattern about the wild cards where they bring you one thing and then they die with frustration. So poor guys. The next one, of course, is Albert Einstein, and it's Pi Day today, and happy birthday. Albert Einstein, is his birthday today, of course, and he also came, it was an unexpected, he was very bad in school, I think, and he was a insurance clerk, so he didn't even, went for doctorate or something. He was, and he brought us one thing, something about relativity, about time. That was his gift to us, and I brought some quotes from him. When forced to summarize the general theory of relativity in one sentence, time and space and gravitation have no separate existence from matter. And he says the distinction between the past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. So he really, actually, a fun fact about Einstein is that he is not done yet, and most of his relativity formulas will be used in the future for the a very amazing invention. That's what Cryon says, and I think it's about free energy, but I'm not sure what's the details because the invention is not here yet. But the thing is, he also died in the end, frustrated because he couldn't get along with quantum physicists, and he couldn't bridge. He was looking for like a unified theory that bridges between electromagnetism and gravitation, gravitation pull, and it was just out of reach because spirit put the kibosh on it. There is a thinking ceiling, and also if you ask him if he was satisfied in the end, he would say no, because he wanted to do more. And fun fact, I think he's gonna reincarnate and do more and bring us something amazing. So I look forward to see what it is. Thank you, Albert, and happy birthday. And now I ask you to put in your alien glasses and not have bias, So the next one is a little hard to explain. So World War II was not a wild card, but this guy, I don't think I can say it, so you know what I'm talking about. This guy, he killed millions of innocent people. Genocide had begun, a race war had begun. He was a horror wild card. But thing is, okay, so I think I made another cool video called The Meaning of Life to explain that that the Earth is like 5 billion year experiment, and the end was supposed to be on 2000 by having World War III. And at the time of World War I and then World War II was the continuation, the consciousness of Earth was really low, and somebody had to play out this potential. So he came in and did that, So don't hate the player, hate the game kind of thing. So I really want you to be, unbiased and just listen to the story and take what resonates, And but if it wasn't for World War II, after that the planet said no more, and after that, if it wasn't for World War II and all that devastation, and the world says no more, because sometimes wild cards can come here to show us the worst, so we can wake up and do something different, So because of World War II, United Nations got formed, So it was more a push toward Earth unity and protection of the weak, and also European Union came in to life. So it's not all bad, So that's another horror wild card. And then the biggest, I think, wild card of all is the Soviet Union fell, and nobody saw it coming. And the speech of Mikhail Gorbachev says, "We're now living in a new world." And the Cold War was like for 44 years or something, and nobody that it just expected it to keep going. But because, like I was saying, the old timeline was that in 2000 we would have so the Cold War will be stop being Cold War, and it will become active war, and it'll be World War III. And the end of, because each one has nukes, we would be the end of the world. But because the consciousness said no, and we changed kind of like the timeline, that a wild card event had to come and make the Soviet Union fall, which changed kind of like the future, So sometimes wild cards come to kind of disrupt the old potentials, So that's their main thing, really. Then the next one, that's a cool one, is of course Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was, his main thing was to free actually the music, because I'll tell you one of his quotes: "I'm gonna put 1,000 songs in your pocket because I can't stand looking at that inexplicable Walkman anymore. You're carrying around a brick, playing a cassette tape. We're not savages, so I'm gonna put 1,000 songs in your pocket." So he created the iPod, So technology was advancing. We would have get the computers and the iPhone and stuff, but his main thing was to free the music, and he changing the way we listen to music. And then of course he also died frustrated and had sick challenges and was taken out. So thank you, Steve Jobs, for your amazing service. And now, the guy we've been waiting for is Trump. So Trump is actually a profound wild card. And I want you to wear again your alien glasses. You're not free from here. You have no emotion about what things is going on. And if you want to figure out actually the energy around the wild card, look at the numerology also. So in 2016, first time when he was president, that's a number 9, and he was 45th president, so that's another 9. And usually number 9, it's potent in numerology, and we feel it more. There's more ripple effect about that. So I don't have to tell you why he's a wild card. Like, who expected ever to have the apprentice host become a president? Like, he wasn't even in politics. He had no idea about politics, and because consciousness was looking for it. So I want to tell you a little bit about pointers I put in here. So he came in because there's a big stick has just been inserted into what is normal, and is going to be turned. As the big stick turns, other things will respond that never would have responded otherwise. Do you see anything in everybody's fighting and rioting, and the Congress used to be like sleepy and everything? So some shake-up in the system, Wildcards do what they do on purpose so that we will have better civilization in the future. Sometimes they show us what won't work, and sometimes they change paradigms that would have never changed otherwise. So I'm just asking you, please, to reserve your emotions, and the story is not over yet, you know. So let's move to the next one. So that I thought I'd put a funny photo about Humpty Dumpty, and to avoid a little bit permanent damage. So please, I'm asking you to sit behind the short wall. I know there is a lot of commotion around and rage about the laws and all the things he's doing, but can you relax in the face of uncertainty when it's your own country? Talking to Americans here. Can you relax in the face of not knowing what's next? When you're so involved, can you disengage from either side of the fray? That's what I'm saying. Sit behind the short wall and don't take sides, kind of thing. Perhaps it's the end of the old way things were done. Perhaps it's a shake-up of the system so it can be correct itself. Relax and know what is happening is correct for our time and needed for our immediate future. Trump is anointed to be president. I'm not agreeing with his rules or anything. I'm asking you to sit on top of as an eagle on the mountain and see the vantage point, you know? The story is not over yet. It's just like Hitler, you know? He might have been a horror thing, but good things happen after, you know? It takes time. You don't know what you don't know, so don't make up your mind in advance about any outcome. The beauty is when you step away and see how grand it is, that spirit cares enough that it would allow a big stick to occur that would stir our complacency at this time. The real reason the shift is here. Well, you know, if you see my other presentation called The Meaning of Life, I told you we are in the midst of the shift, that every old civilization and scripture, the scriptures taught that there's Armageddon and all that thing's not gonna happen. Now we are in a new timeline, and we are in the mid of the precession equinox, and it started from 1994 to 2030. It'd be the highest vibration, where all the changes, the major dramatic changes will occur. So yeah, the shift is upon us, and we need some wild cards, and more wild cards are coming in the future, because things has to change things. I'll explain more in the next slide. So have you heard of the butterfly effect? So I want to talk about Edward Norton Lawrence. He's an MIT professor of meteorology, and he was in 1961. He was doing running simulation to try to predict the weather patterns. So he was making computer draw a graph. And one time, to speed up something or check something, he entered by hand, because the computer was just taking the numbers by itself and entering it in the system. But he put in by hand a number, but he used the 0.506 instead of the computer was using 6 decimals, and he just used round up and used 3 decimals. And then he went to get coffee and come back, and to his surprise is that the graph in the beginning it was matching a little bit versus the computer graph, but then with time the graph totally changed from the computer, because that .000, like the fact the computer used 6 decimals and he used 3 decimal numbers, had a dramatic change, so it's called the butterfly effect. He says that when a butterfly flaps its wing in Brazil, it could cause a tornado in Texas. That means that little things change bigger things, and bigger things change even bigger things. And that's when the chaos theory got invented. Or was born. And he kept going researching, and he came up with 3 differential equations. And when he plugged it into the computer, the funny part is it kept going in the same kind of pattern, and he created looked like a butterfly wings. So that's why they call it the butterfly effect. And I'm getting there. Why are you talking about the butterfly effect? Because the wild card is a huge butterfly effect. The wild card is the reason why one small change, one little butterfly, one little invention make a huge ripple that can cause a Texas tornado kind of things, or can change our world, And maybe in the next slide we'll explain even more. So now I'll close with time. So I try to find a drawing to explain what I'm trying to say. So I drew this from Canva. So things about time. Time is in the circle and is fractal. So see those that butterfly one, that was also a fractal. I'm getting a little bit technical here, but let's bear with me a little bit. And time imprints energies in it that then often repeat. So let's say we are here and we are living in, we think the time is linear, but no, time is in a circle. It's actually in a Mobius strip. So it goes so we are driving, and then to make a whole circle, it takes almost 26,000 years. So that's like a cycle of time. And when we are driving, when we finish a circle, the next time we are going, the past might repeat itself because the imprints in the time kind of track, So let's say we were heading to 2000 to end for World War III, right? And then US was there and USSR, and they both have nukes. That was where we were heading. Let's say here it's 2000. Okay? But then the consciousness of of all humanity said, no, we want to continue. So Spirit honored that and inserted a butterfly effect, which is a wild card of the Union, USSR. So I put my face here. So inserted a butterfly effect, which is a wild card of the USSR falling, the Soviet Union, and that changed everything, you know? It profoundly changed everything, and the world, that's why it's the most important wild card, the fall of the Union, Soviet Union. So the fractals that existed before that tended to repeat are voided, and we create new potentials on the circle. You might say we moved into a slightly different dimension where the prophecies of old will not take place. Yeah, baby! So it takes a big event or very different thinking to change the circle of time, and hence the wild cards. And I hope I made my point clear. It's a little confusing, but yeah. If you're a little confused also about the timelines, watch also my other video called The Meaning of Life. Okay? I hope you had fun in the game, and see you next time. Bye now.